Welcome into the official week one must start wide receivers episode, joined by Alec. As always, Alec, we are here. Finally, it is week one preparation. I guess we've been preparing for week one for like 18 weeks now, but realistically, it is within striking distance. We are like 4 days away when this is being recorded from Thursday Night Football. We have four wide receivers here that are absolute must starts. They're not going to be your Jamar Chases, your Justin Jeffersons. These are guys that are probably going to be sliding into your flex, maybe your second wide receiver spot if you went RB heavy. But these are going to be guys that we think absolutely have to be in your starting lineup this week. Really quickly, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We are running a giveaway right now at 200 or at 500 subscribers. We will announce who it is. It is going to be a free signed NFL jersey. So at 500 subscribers, will be announced who the player is. You guys should subscribe. I think you're going to like who it is. And then at 1,000, it'll be given away. The only criteria, you have to be subscribed. Having said that, Alec, we will go ahead and let's hop into it. So let's go ahead and start with you. Who is your first wide receiver for the 2025 NFL season of a must start?
Yeah, so we're kicking this off. We were pretty good, not to toot our own horn last year at,
Yes.
at these picks. So for my first wide receiver, I'm going to go Odunze here. So you basically drafted him as maybe your wide receiver three. If you went super RB quarterback, tight end, heavy, he might be your wide receiver two. I kind of see Rome as more of like a flex play option on a lot of my teams that I have. I think you need to start Rome in week one. I know that the matchup isn't great. Monday Night Football against Brian Flores and the Vikings. But I think Rome's going to be this team's number one receiver this year. He had a fantastic kind of prospect profile in the worst year that you could possibly have from the Bears offense last year. He still had over 700 yards. So it's not like he was like a Quentin Johnson where it was just automatic bust. You know it from the beginning. He still had some splash plays last year. Ben Johnson, they've targeted him in the preseason when Caleb and him have been in the game together. I think Rome is going to start off strong, and I think you need to start in week one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love Rome this week, and he won't be the only Bear featured in this week's start and sits. We've got wide receivers today. We've got running backs coming out tomorrow. So just maybe a hint there. But no, I like Rome a lot. I mean, we've been on him all preseason. I think that when you're putting him into the Ben Johnson led offense, same reason why we're high on Caleb Williams, right? Is the offense complexity just changes, and Rome Odunze is going to be the clear-cut wide receiver 2 at worst, right? On the depth chart, he's probably gonna be the clear wide receiver 2 all year. And when you're running routes on 100% of the snaps that you're not gassed and need a one-play breather on, in a Ben Johnson-led offense, in a high-powered offense, especially in a game in which Minnesota last year was good against the run and teams threw the ball. Brian Flores blitzes, in which means you get the ball out quickly. I think in a PPR format, that's kind of setting up to throw the ball, right? I'm on DeAndre Swift next. You'll hear that tomorrow because of the receiving upside, right? But I think Romo Dunze has an opportunity to put up 8 to 10 catches very, very comfortably in a game. And in a Ben Johnson led offense, we all know that he's plenty capable of having 2, maybe even 3 serviceable wide receivers in a given week. I definitely think Odunze is going to be in that 12 to 14 point range when it comes to PPR points this week.
Yeah, no, I
But
agree. And I totally agree. And I think, kind of season outlook. I know we're talking about week one, but I think Rome's going to be closer to T. Higgins by the end of the year, like a T. Higgins type of number two receiver than he was as like a 2 or a 3 last year.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like that, or even like a Chris Godwin, Mike Evans when they're fully healthy, right? And speaking of the Tampa Bay Bucks and maybe even Chris Godwin, my first player here is not Chris Godwin. Obviously, he's not playing. It's Emeka Egbuka. Playing against the Falcons here. I think everything is setting up for Egbuka to have a monster week one when it comes to what is going on here, right? You're playing against Atlanta. They were a bottom 8 pass defense last year. They obviously have AJ Terrell, who's a great corner. You'd like to think he's going to be matched up against Mike Evans, right? Emeka Egbuka is the wide receiver 2 right now, very clearly the wide receiver 2. McMillan's on the IR. Godwin's not on the IR, but he's not playing until week 5, which is an interesting decision, but it is whatever. So you have Godwin and McMillan. They're not there. That means that Egbuka is going to be running a route like kind of similar to what we were saying about Odunze. Egbuka will be running a route on 100% of the snaps and more than likely will be the slot receiver. And so when you're giving me the slot receiver in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense with Baker Mayfield at the helm, I want that slot receiver starting in every single game for me in fantasy every single week. So I love Emeka Egbuka this week. I think until Chris Godwin comes back, there is no concern in my mind. I will be starting him over a lot of guys. I would start him over like a Calvin Ridley this week. I would start him over a lot of different receivers because the volume is going to be there and the offense and the quality of the targets is also going to be there. I love Egbuka this week.
I love Egbuka until Chris Godwin comes back, and
Mhm.
even when Godwin comes back, this week I think he's kind of ramped up for that, that kind of breakout game. I think he could potentially have that this week. I mean, anywhere between those like 6 to 8, 9 catches, 75 yards, maybe a touchdown, kind of just to prove that he is a quality NFL receiver,
Mhm.
and kind of like a quality flex option moving forward.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm waiting for the first quarter to go by, and Egbuka's got 3 catches for 44 yards, and people are saying, "Oh my gosh, why didn't I start this guy?" Well, I think it's really likely that at some point he's going to have a 20-yard catch here, a 20-yard catch there, and all of a sudden he's flirting with 70 or 80 yards and in a handful of catches, like what you're saying, and he's outperforming somebody that was in your starting lineup. So no, he's a smash start for me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Another smash start for me is Stefon Diggs this week. So the reports have been great. Out of training camp, everybody says he looks great. The video has looked really good of him cooking some people in a, kind of what do they call that? Like a joint practice.
Yep.
The joint practices, his routes have looked really good too from the beat reporters. I think he's going to be the alpha in this offense. I think Drake May is going to take that step. Josh McDaniels coming over is going to kind of revamp their offense from whatever it was last year.
Mhm.
So I really think Stephon Diggs is going to have a big week one. And the reason behind that is they don't really have that many other established weapons. So
No.
who else is who else is going to take targets away from him early in the season? I'm not sure.
Mhm.
Could change by the end of the year. Somebody could step up, but I think early, even coming off the ACL, Stephon Diggs is pretty safe to start as a flex option in week one.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I also, I mean, with the ACL, it was what, October last year, right? So I mean, nowadays we see people recover from an ACL within 7 months. So you're 11 months, post ACL tear, you're just fine. I mean, it's probably not even hardly even a thought in his head. But no, I completely agree. I think this is kind of one of the few, we always talk about this, right? We joke that we say the word alphas too much on when we talk about wide receivers. He's one of the few alphas that you can find outside of the top 5 rounds, right? When you can look down the board and say, this is the guy is a clear-cut wide receiver 1 for his team with hardly any target competition. Why is he available this low? And I think in week 1 is a perfect spot too because you've got new people coming in. You got Trayvon Henderson, you got Kyle Williams, right? Who's going to take targets? They don't know yet. Diggs is going to get targets, right? There's a very good chance that maybe by week 8, the Patriots have cemented themselves as, look, our rushing attack is so good. We're going to be a rush first offense on first and second down. And now Diggs is, his profile is a little bit less. Not in week 1, right? I mean, you're not going to come out and hand the ball to Trayvon Henderson 25 times in week 1. So no, I absolutely love Diggs. I think he's setting up to be in a very easy 10 to 12 target range. And if you're giving me 10 to 12 targets in week 1, I can't ask for much more out of my flex, right? I mean, even you're looking at, if you draft when you draft him, it's definitely a flex play. If you're in a league with 2 flexes, definitely should be starting him. With 1, obviously depends on who the other one is, but I love Diggs this week as well. The final guy here, we talk about alphas that you can find outside the top 5 rounds. This is a guy maybe in the 5th round here. Tetairoa McMillan playing against the Jags this weekend. I love this start here. This is getting a little bit high, right, for ADP, as to where they were drafted at to be a must start here. But I think it was worth mentioning because I think some people might have some cold feet on him because he's a rookie. Don't. He's listed as the wide receiver 1 on their depth chart for a reason. There's a very, very minimal target competition for him, and he's in a spot where he's literally in week 1 playing against the worst secondary in football last year. They gave up almost 260 passing yards a game. If they have 260 passing yards, the Panthers, he will have 100. He will. Like it's just you're not going to have 260 passing yards and T Mac only have 50. It's not going to happen. So I absolutely love the lineup here. I don't think the Jaguars made too many changes to their secondary. Obviously, Travis Hunter comes in, but I think he's listed as corner 3 still. So, and he's going to play a lot of offensive snaps. So I think it's kind of, especially in week 1, I wouldn't expect to see him come play 80% of total snaps, right? If he's playing 80% on offense, maybe he plays, 40%, 30% on defense, and that's not going to be enough to limit T-Mac, even if he shadows him. So, and even I believe T-Mac had no, I'm thinking of the wrong guy. Never mind. I was thinking of Alec Josh, who had the monster game against Travis Hunter, anyways. But either way, I think T-Mac's again set up for a spot 10, 12, could even see more targets if he wanted to, if the game script works out that way. And I absolutely love him here.
Yeah, no, and you're talking about a team who just traded away Adam Thielen,
Mhm.
who was Bryce Young's option early in the season last year, and then you're also talking about a team that just put their new slot guy, Jalen Coker, on the IR with a quad injury. So T Mac's target competition week 1. So if you go down the list, it's going to be Hunter Renfro, it's going to be Xavier Legette, and Jatavian Sanders. That's the target competition for T Mac. If they have 260 yards passing, he might have 140 of it with that supporting cast for him.
I would agree with that. So
Yeah. No,
no.
he is wheels up. I think he's
Mhm.
going to be fantastic this year. I legit think he could be one of those guys where we look back on and he's like a BTJ season where it's
Mhm.
like, he had 1,200, 1,300 yards. Like, I think that's his ceiling.
Yeah, or I could even see it in a situation like Neighbors where, people were high on him, right? It's not like you're like Marvin Harrison Jr. last year where people were like, taking him in the second round, but people are high on him. You're drafting with a starting spot on your team pretty much, but he's going to come out and put up 100 plus receptions. And just when you are watching a Panthers game, it is like, oh, Bryce Young drops back to pass. Oh, that one's going to McMillan. Oh, that one's going to McMillan too. That's the 4th time this drive he's thrown to him. Like, but who else are you going to throw to? And also, when you have Bryce Young, right? This is the telltale year for Bryce Young. He needs to play well, and he knows that. And so, when you find a receiver that you have chemistry with that you can trust, especially maybe with a jump ball now and then, you're gonna throw him the ball all the time. I love T Mac. This week, next week, every week on a here and out. Excuse me. This will probably be the last week we hear him as a must start, because I think after this week, he's going to be one of those guys where it's just, yeah, we know that he's not leaving my lineup. So those are our 4 guys that we think you need to be starting for at the wide receiver position. We have running backs coming out tomorrow, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And then also hit that subscribe button if you want a chance to win a free NFL signed jersey. But other than that, Alec, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.